Всем здрасте.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Наверное, всю жизнь мечтал выйти на сцену и сказать:
I dreamt of coming to that stage and say, "Hi, лыжники!"
Вообще, это была моя заготовка.
Да?
Actually, it was my dream.
Смотрите, мы хотели поговорить сегодня.
Look, we wanted to talk today about the topic what I think is the key one as concerns the cybersecurity. And in essence, this is something which is not addressed in real life. How the heads and top management of enterprises treat the cybersecurity and information security. Hi, Natasha.
В целом всю жизнь работал в сообществе безопасников.
I worked in the information security community. I love them.
Слышал, что
And I heard from them that the top management
не участвует в наших проектах,
that
время на нас не хочет.
top management doesn't want to be engaged in cybersecurity or information security. And now I'm dealing more with business. And the business says, we want to understand information security. But unfortunately, cyber officers are talking to us in a language we do not understand, and they are just some strange guys. And this gap is so obvious that I think
для меня таких проблем, которые не дают
one of the key problems for me, something that prevents the organization from being protected. And this is something that I'm going to discuss with my friends and colleagues. Within that panel, within our discussion, we'll try not only to have a pleasant talk, but we'll try to come up with some 3-4 items that every top manager has to know regarding the security. Look, I don't have any financial background. I know nothing about finances. But as one of the shareholders of Positive Technology, I know what P&L is about, what cash gap is, what banking secret is. So 3 or 4 topics that are important for us. Within that session, we'd like to come up with 3-4 items on the cyber information security that every top manager has to understand. This was just a cherry on the cake. Aydar, over to you. Let's start with you.
Ты как владелец компании, да?
As an owner of a company,
Понимаешь информационную безопасность своих людей? Что они тебе говорят?
do you understand what your security guys are telling you because they're asking for money? They are doing something.
Может быть, даже
How do you treat that?
относился там, я не знаю.
Or how did you treat that 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Привет, лужники. Я тоже все-таки...
Hi, лыжники. I still want to use this opportunity.
Боря сказал, с тебя начну, только ты долго не говори. Только он не сказал, что говорить. Поэтому
Boris said don't talk long, but he didn't tell me what to tell you. So just give me a sign whether I'm talking too long.
очередное раздвоение личности.
And some bifurcation of my mind occurred 9 months ago when we joined Back Bounty. We said that we are joining Back Bounty, and yesterday we made a report that we are launching that program at the Positive Hack Days, and where the bifurcation occurred. When we launched that program, this is when it occurred. As a top manager, in essence, I wanted to make the company join Back Bounty in order to be inspired by positive technologies to show what it gives to the company, that this is about measurable security, etc., etc. And in essence, until the moment that I brought that idea to the company, I was absolutely sure that we are totally safe and secure. We're leaders in the cybersecurity market. We know how the cyber war is being waged. I'm concerned about our cybersecurity and sustainability. I asked our guys, what about our security? And I would be told that we are professionals, everything is great. And I said, guys, we have to somehow rock the industry, and we joined Back Bounty, and I was told, Aydar, we're not prepared for that. And after that, that bifurcation occurred, in the sense that we, the company of professionals in the area of cybersecurity, we spent 9 months in order to get prepared for Back Bounty.
уровне.
So we didn't start from scratch, for sure. This way, that way, speak about those questions that concern top management. I think that in essence, the top management has to think about cybersecurity, and without abusing your attention, I will elaborate on that a bit later.
Олег Колесников.
Well, thank you so much, Oleg Kolesnikov. Probably this is a question to you.
Уникальная ситуация.
I think you have a unique situation. It is unique in the following sense. Oleg is responsible for technologies in games of future, or future games, which has past, and it has the date of beginning and date of the end. Some companies may live years, and no one is going to hack them, try to hack them, because they are of no interest for anyone. But Oleg's case is different. Future games, for sure, would be attempted to hack.
Добрый
Sure.
день. Начало хорошее.
Well, that's a very good beginning.
Я бы сказал так.
Well, I have a lot of concerns. I have a lot of anxiety.
Я начну там немножко на полшага назад. Я хотел представить
Let me
долгое
take a
длинное
step
название
back.
Агентство развития компьютерных игр и
Agency
видеоспорта
for
означает
the
«Просто
development
игры
into the
будущего».
other
Все наверняка про них
games.
слышали. И,
This name stands for the
все
future
знают.
games, and
Даже
that's it.
многие
You all know
здесь
what it is
присутствующие
about.
были.
And many of you present, I
Для нас
think, attended those future
кибербез, вообще все,
games.
что с этим
For
случилось,
us,
все самое
cybersecurity and
будущего,
everything
это спорт.
related to
Я вот,
future games. This is
благодарен,
about
конечно,
sports.
организаторам, что пригласили
And
меня
I'm
сюда
certainly
в Лужники.
grateful
Я здесь в
to the
Лужниках был
organizers for
очень
inviting
большое
me.
количество раз, как правило,
And
с другой
I
стороны
visited
немножко,
Luzhniki
да, я
many
не бегал
times,
по
and
полю, к
usually
счастью, да, я бегал
I
вдоль
was not
кромки поля,
on the
потому что
pitch.
всегда занимался
I would
телевидением
be
и спортивным
actually
телевидением, в
running
частности.
on
Поэтому
the
для меня
margin
это
of the
друг родной.
pitch because
Но
I was an
что нас
operator,
роднит, в том числе
cameraman.
игры будущего, в том числе с
What we have in common
традиционным спортом, то, что матч состоится в любую
with the
погоду.
traditional
И если
games is that the games, well, the match would take place
будет сильная
whatever
атака,
the weather
нас
forecast
будут банить.
is,
В любом
whether the
случае,
attack is
мероприятие
strong
должно
or not
состояться.
strong, whether we're banned or
Мы,
not, but
конечно,
anyway, the event
испытали
has to take place.
потрясающую
And sadly,
колоссальную нагрузку, которую в первую
we
очередь, наверное,
felt a
сами
lot
себе
of
создали.
pressure, and
Вот
we
когда
were
мы
the ones
боролись
who
за
created
наш
that pressure when
любимый
we
кибербез,
fought
мы сами себе
for our
создали такие
cybersecurity. We
невыносимые условия,
created
что
such intolerable
когда говорится, что
conditions
тяжело в
that
учении, легко в бою, я
when
хотел
you
сказать,
say
что
you
в бою было легче раз в 10, чем
practice
те условия, которые мы
hard,
создали
you
себе
fight
сами.
easy. I
Это
must say
бесконечные
that
тренировки, и были привлечены там
these
без
were normal
привлечения,
trainings,
сказать, самые
enormous
лучшие
trainings. So we
red-команды,
invited from
наверное,
Kazan
отрасли.
to Kazan the
того,
best
чтобы
red
нас взломать.
teams of the industry in order to
И,
hack us.
конечно, там скажу в скобочках, безусловно, где-то это удавалось, но в целом.
And they even succeeded somewhere, but we
Мы
managed to sustain that. Secondly, as my good friend says, we got invaluable experience, something that we'll replicate not only in Russia but in other countries as well. And number three, most importantly, the games took place, the risks that we drilled, we managed to resist to the threats, and everyone is alive. No animal were damaged in future games. Okay, thank you so much. We'll speak about it a bit later. You said that you got some experience, but what this experience is about, we'll elaborate on that a bit later. I have a question to Denis Tolpeykin. Denis, I think that your situation is even more difficult. Cybersecurity is difficult, and cybersecurity in public authorities is even more difficult. Tell us about the challenges that you're facing in terms of cybersecurity. Well, I will take this opportunity to say, hi, Luzhniki.
И тут часть
Okay.
команды нашей тоже находится, поэтому я сейчас
Part of my team is present there, so I'm going to tell you about what we have experienced, what we have lived through. Several ideas.
Ну, первое, у нас 27 органов власти.
First,
27
we have 27
личности, которые
different public authorities, 27 different individuals who have their own problems and challenges, and we, as security officers, we're speaking total different language. Psychology. This is something that we have to focus on. A person either is eager to learn or is afraid of something and tries to protect himself against that. So once you are dealing with the kids, you use some pedagogical methods. So a person would get surprised and would memorize that, but with adults, it's totally different. Because adults have their own experience, they have a lot of skepticism. These are individuals who lived through so many things that actual approach to the adults is very easy. You have to create a wow effect to immerse them into the atmosphere when the adult would realize everything on their own and would memorize that. So the very right approach is just like now is being done. When top manager is approached to speak about the cybersecurity, and for instance, you may show, look, we have a lot of your private data. So the previous session was exactly about that, about OSINT. Once you disclose the private data to your top manager, you get a very loyal ally. What the company's top manager is thinking. Their objective is the following: to derive profits. The profits have to be commensurate with the risk appetite. And it would help, this is a very simplified case, but nevertheless. Where the information security is about. This is the right of a top manager to run a risk, and probably he would succeed without paying attention to cybersecurity, would make even more profit. But if we explain to the top manager what risks are there, and if it is commensurate to the risks, then again, the top manager would become your ally. Well, let me challenge that. Can I do that? Yes. I'm doing business. All the time I'm told the very goal of business is to maximize the profits, but I know a lot of businessmen and successful businessmen usually have totally different goals. To maximize profits with some right steps. Certainly, I know that you would challenge me, and the second idea is the following. This is my experience, and probably I am a too specific person. I don't like some sophisticated deliberations on sidetracks of the business. So I'm ready to do anything about business, but I'm not ready to plunge into something which is not associated with business. And when I'm told about risks, probabilities, I feel that you are cheating me. So increase the probability, we decrease the probability, etc. I don't like it. And most importantly, sometimes I even feel being a singer who is singing old songs. Shevchuk, for instance, is not singing his old songs. I can understand him. And there are cases that are repeated more than once, and probably still you do not know them. At the time, I had another case about 20 years ago. I came to one oil producer to make an audit of cyber information security. I asked him about the risks. And the guy with gold chain embraced me and said, what risks of cybersecurity is about? If a typhoon, for instance, ruins my oil refinery, including people, jack pumps and computers, I will build everything anew and I will produce everything I want. So there are no risks related to cybersecurity. This is a question of maturity of business. I realized that for me, the information security is not about risks. I have a lot of risks. And I do not try to hedge myself against them. But information security is about the following. If something happens that would stop my business, this is not about risk, but this is about an event. For instance, I open a newspaper in the morning and will see that, for instance, Positive Technologies got hacked, and I don't care. Or Positive Technologies hacked some website and it wrote something else. Okay, I don't care. Positive Technologies is being hacked and its source code is being published. We cannot find the ins and outs within our source code, so let them publish that. But if the Positive Technologies is hacked and its source code is being used in order to compile a Trojan malware to penetrate into all the companies of the country, then I would very much concerned.
Украли деньги, прям
Or the money is stolen.
Есть несколько, прям вот, ну, буквально их 2-3 события, которые мне прям критичны.
There are 2-3 events that are of critical importance for me. So this is what information security is for me. This is something I'm ready to invest in.
Роман, смотри,
Roman,
тут, мне кажется,
look, I think that,
кстати, тоже вот потом еще
by the way,
мне кажется, тема психологии.
we'll get back to that a bit later. Psychology is very important.
Для меня, кстати, тоже вот информационная безопасность это на 70% умение коммуницировать.
Information security for me, this is the ability to communicate to people. You have an enormous experience, one of the broadest and deepest ones. You worked in different capacities in different companies.
У тебя есть какой-то ключ выстраивания взаимоотношений между
Do you
безопасностью?
have any idea how you build relations between top management and cybersecurity officers? Thank you so much, Boris. Hi, everyone. In essence, I may put it like that. For quite a while, I worked for integrators, for vendors, and last several years, I was selling cybersecurity as a product, as a service, and would talk to top management. I may admit that this scope of sales of products and services that I had over the last 10 years is less than the scope that I have to deal with now as the CISO of Post of Russia, because there are a lot of people engaged in that process. Every director general, I'm not speaking about Post of Russia, I'm speaking about the type of top management. CEO is a person who meets a lot of employees with a problem. For instance, that would be like, dear CEO, give me money for, or I have this and that risk, and a regional director would be approached by cybersecurity company providers who that would say, we are going to sell you this product, and what's next? Does it mean that I'm not going to be hacked? They say, no, you will be hacked. Then why I have to pay so much money to you? What is the silver bullet about? And what Boris tells us, this is exactly true. Most likely criminals will be able to hack your website. That would not kill the company. Will the product that was developed 10 years ago and that you paid 5 billion rubles for protecting against anything? Probably not. So we have to proceed not from your desire to sell something, but you may say that actually that's the problem that we're ready to fix or to address, and it would cost you so much. If you say, actually, you built the cybersecurity system and everything would be okay, how you decide whether it is okay or not okay? For the owner of big business, the information security issue is not clear because it cannot be assessed by the metrics that they are used to. If, for instance, the application is working, then what cybersecurity gave to you? So if something goes wrong, a push code would be sent or a short message would be sent. Very often, CISO cannot explain to the top management why they need several million or thousands of rubles, what benefit it may get.
Согласен, да.
And that's a very arbitrary question. So there is a misunderstanding between the CISO and top managers. Top managers don't understand what they're paying for. They have business processes. Every business process has an owner, and they are your competitor for the budget, which is limited. And if you say that we will introduce some security features that will not improve anything, but you have to pay for that, then this is very unlikely that you will explain your colleagues from operations who bring benefits that they have to somehow share that money with you.
Классная мысль. Ты говоришь, что
Well, that's a very good idea. You said that
приходить и не просить деньги на проекты, а надо
you don't have to ask the money for projects, but you may say that we'll address your problems with certain degree of guarantee. It was some pre-word. And I think that we can actually discuss some focal points, which are key ones, in terms of a dialogue between top management and business. What is the result?
Результат от траты денег на информационную безопасность. Айдар, давай с тебя начнем.
Well, what the results of a good cybersecurity system is about. I will continue what I started with. This is my situation.
Такой вопрос. Ребята, а за сколько нас могут взломать? Это же вот хороший для меня.
How much money is needed in order to hack us? This is a good question for me, and this is a good question for my team.
Я, наверное, пока для себя не придумал другого мерила.
I have not come up with any other measurement of a result, because what has been proposed now. I think that we have the following rationale. It's a binary rationale, whether we would be hacked or not hacked. This is what Boris is saying. So if the website is hacked, we can fix it. Or if we are being used in order to penetrate into our customers, then this is a totally different level of responsibility of the company and me personally. And this is an intolerable event. We have to think about where we can close the risks. This is about a focus. Measurement of a result, this is about the cost of hacking or the cost of intolerable event. You have to measure the means that are going to be spent on hacking you, because this money, these efforts are not unlimited. And my team worked on improving the process to get prepared for bug bounty, and these 9 months I spent considering everything, trying to realize what is going on.
То есть, еще раз, наверное, подытоживая, для меня важно понимать, чего я действительно боюсь.
We have to understand what we are afraid of, and whether it can be done by hackers and how much money hackers may spend on that.
Вот что для тебя
Denis,
понятный результат?
What is a clear result for you?
Проекта траты денег по информационной безопасности.
Ну, как представитель
Well,
здесь понятно, что
as a representative of public authorities, I must say that our intolerable events certainly concern the people's safety and security, continuous of nature of access and work of public services,
утечка конфиденциальной информации и персональных данных граждан.
This is about preventing the leak of confidential data. These are the key intolerable events. Well, I think that this is something you have to invest in. For instance, you're approached by a provider or contractor and would say, give me 100 rubles and I will make a project.
Акты подпишу, оформим, да?
And we will sign acceptance acts, etc. But how I understand that this 100 rubles. Is it a good investment or not?
Невозможно, я не знаю. Вот вокруг этого-то как вот...
Нет, они в любом случае возможны сломать же.
Well, anyway, this can be done.
Я говорю, здесь как раз-таки правильный подход от цели.
We need the right approach proceeding from the goal. Why we are doing this or that? Why we are doing that? And in that sense, we can proceed from determining the intolerable events. What intolerable
Смотри, у нас недопустимых событий
event is?
три, кажется. То есть первое — это
There are three intolerable events. First of all,
входа и попадание, встраивание трояна в наш продукт и попадание к заказчику.
embedding the Trojan malware into our source code, and
Кража денег
when it is replicated by our customers, if certain amount of money is stolen from our account, the hacker may run a client bank from the working station of the accountant and transfer money to their account. So we just pity,
Третье недопустимое событие —
have sorry for that amount. And the third intolerable event, when we're working with the confidential data of our clients, we do audits, and if we lose that data, that's intolerable event. And number four, either failure of our infrastructure. For instance, now we have 1,000 software developers. If for a month they all cannot work, but we're paying money to them, and you do about hundreds of millions of rubles, where the loss of the results of their work within 1 month. So it means that we would pay monthly wages, and we lost the data obtained by these programmers. So these are the four intolerable events. Well, the fourth intolerable event for us, this is an image damage. Once you impact the public opinion through those reputational risks and discrediting the people on their own. So this is the fourth intolerable event. Well, yes, I remember that at the time we discussed with one region these intolerable events, and they said, you see, even if the governor's website is hacked, and if they write something awful there, so what's next? But if the portals of community services being hacked and all the pensioners get a message that the water bills become 10 times more expensive, then they would start a riot. Everything can be hacked if the need is.
Мне кажется, занимает такую позицию для бизнеса плохую, такую.
Well, I think that this is an absolutely irresponsible position by the business. So if everything can be hacked, then why spending money on that?
Сейчас идет волна того, что все можно взломать, но нужно.
Information security patent says that everything can be hacked, but you have to be prepared for that in theory, and in practice that's a very important thing. So what will you do if something happens? And a ready-made scenario
Потому что мы сейчас
be handy.
последние 2 месяца в очень сложной ситуации жила у нас огромный потоп, и мы как раз таки хапнули, в том числе сопутствующие похожие риски, когда прям
we got a lot of risks.
Фокус был, и влиять было очень легко, потому что народ был очень сложный, пострадало очень много граждан.
We saw that a lot of citizens were harmed, and hackers could do whatever they want, but the ready-made scenarios are very helpful because you are short of time, you're in a stressful situation, and all your employees are in a stressful situation. But if you understand that anything may happen and you are prepared for that, it helps to mitigate.
Олег,
Okay.
для тебя
Oleg,
понятный результат, который ты мог бы оценить?
what is the obvious result that you may assess in terms of the cybersecurity or information security? What would it be?
Можно продать с точки зрения кибербеза,
The main
потому что
difficulty is what you can sell in terms of the cybersecurity. Ideal cybersecurity is when it is not noticeable, when it is not visible. If you don't see that, this is either you don't have it at all, or it works very well. As a rule, the truth is somewhere in the middle, or you're just lucky enough.
Мы же давайте вернемся к теме нашей сегодняшней дискуссии, как продать.
Let's get back to our discussion how you sell that.
Страхи менеджменту, сказать,
Well, can you sell your fears and
и вообще в
risks to the management, saying that this is not a theory, that it may happen in theory, but it will practically happen, the consequences would be like that. Then you can use the intolerable events model to convince the top management. And just like any security, you may ask, do you want that we lose everything?
Это один подход, да? Это
And it would be a total nightmare. This is one approach when you intimidate the top management, you may get some money for that, but it doesn't work forever, because you may shout wolves, wolves, and once the wolves arrive and you cannot protect the company against them, you will have to face a lot of questions. What you have spent your money on, and you all of a sudden say, we cannot give you 100% guarantee, and that's it. You will never get the money for your cybersecurity until the top management lives through that situation themselves, unless they understand what may threaten their business. To some extent, this would be just an empty talk. We all know that security, physical or cyber security, actually is limited. You have to spend some money to avoid intolerable events. Safes actually are being broken every now and then. It only matter of how much time it takes to do that. Safe boxes, safe vaults, I mean. And the same is true for any system. Future games, for instance. Our videos and broadcasts were watched by more than 280 million people. There were two major risks. First intolerable event is the substitution of the content, and we know that it can be done very easily. That was a very popular thing. After that, media holdings thought about cybersecurity, how it's been organized. And the second intolerable event, that the event will not take place. There were some disciplines that were 100% dependent on the publisher servers. If we had not anticipated some measures that would guarantee that we can host that event, then it means that once there is no access, then there is no event. And we had the top figures of the country, and we broadcast that to 160 countries of the world. So cybersecurity was not just an empty word for us. And I can give credit to my management and to the management of my management that realized that, and would even say probably you underestimate something, because this and this may occur, and this is something that we don't want to happen. And in our case, the situation was totally unique. We didn't think about that. And when our senior guys told us, have you look at that? Is everything okay with cybersecurity? And when we compared the potential costs with the cybersecurity opportunities, and thanks to positive technologies, this question was resolved in a positive way. Thank you. You touched upon a very interesting topic, and Roman already mentioned that in his submission. How do I understand the reality in cybersecurity, what I see? On the one hand, very often it may happen like that. A person may say, we have dedicated fiber optics. It is connected to nothing. You cannot connect that to anything else. And I see that he is the owner of that situation, and he believes that he is absolutely safe. And all the major incidents would start with that. For instance, you forgot about something, and the hacker would penetrate into that. And then I think, what is the way to convey to him that the reality is totally different? But probably this guy doesn't want it. That problem does exist at the micro level, when the security department knows its problem but doesn't know how to escalate that. And for instance, this problem might be at the top level, when the top management knows that but doesn't know how to bring that down to the subordinates. And people are afraid that they would be asked to report for the money that was spent on cybersecurity. Roman, the question goes to you. You have an extensive experience. How do you convey the reality to the people who allocated money to you? Well, the problem is even worse. You say that the people are committing mistakes. But there might be situations when the people on purpose would hide the problems because they believe that they are to be blamed for that, they're guilty of that. And you see that the security officer approaches top management and says that our cybersecurity is excellent, we have fiber optics, you cannot actually get connected to us, and top management says, okay, I trust you. If I do not trust the person I'm paying money to, then why I need him? That's a problem that we do have. And it is driven by the psychology that we spoke about, that the person may feel their guilt and would be eager to hide the reality. And it may happen at the level of rank and file officer who knows the problem but would not disclose that. When you come to the top management and you say, I want several million or billion rubles to ensure cybersecurity. Such an officer would never disclose what is bad about the current system. Aydar, for instance, may approach you and would say, you know that your cybersecurity is bad, and how am I going to look into his eyes? Aydar, you are a decent man, you're behaving this way. So that's a real psychological problem, how to explain to the top management that there are risks, that there is a real situation in the infrastructure, but at the same time, you make sure that the person you worked for the last 5, 7, 10 years is not dismissed, and who is a good cybersecurity officer. But at the same time, you have to ask for extra budget, which is really needed. How you render that home to the top management and maintain good relations at the same time. You have to use a lot of leeways, metaphors. There is a very good joke about traders when they are taking the lift and one asks another, what is going on in the market? And the other one says, I can explain. And the first one says, I can explain it myself, but what is really taking place? You can use any allegories, anything to convey the real information, that even dedicated fiber optics would not save you from this, and this. It would be just great. Because top management lives within the paradigm that was created by people around them, and by the colleagues, by the friends around them. I have a very good case in terms of the IS. So, when, for instance, the company with a turnover of about 20 billion rubles would spend about 500,000 rubles on cybersecurity, and they were hacked many times. and they would just instruct the information officer to restore that immediately after the hacking, and that would be much cheaper. You have to be able to explain what intolerable events this may result in. For instance, we talked to one of the breweries, and he said, I have a website, what do you want from me? Okay, I said, your website would be hacked, and would post an announcement that tomorrow at noon on Saturday, 2 liters would be given for free to anyone. And tomorrow, there will be lots of people with red vessels, and if you don't give free beer, they would just destroy your plant, your brewery. And he said that's a very distant story, but I never thought about that. Very often top management doesn't understand what could be done by hackers. This is what Denis has said. Publishing of an indecent photo is not the same as manipulating the public opinion. Show to the business the risks that are really relevant to them and how it is related to the cybersecurity and information security. The business would do everything on their own. So still this is about intimidation.
Вау-эффект.
Грамотное запугивание.
Удивился.
Отлично, хорошо, да.
Ром, можно вот прям
Roma,
вопрос задать, да? Ты говоришь.
may I ask another question? Can you imagine that Aydar will come? Can you imagine that Aydar has come?
И прямо поговорить
Aydar
с
has come,
руководителем. И
and
руководитель вызывает
will
тебя и
tell
говорит, поговорил с Айдаром,
the
и у меня вопрос. Ром,
top management. And the top management says, what if we're hacked? Well, that's an easy question for me, because when the discussion started, we were very sober about our infrastructure and we understand costs and outcomes. And we already had that conversation, how much money we have to invest in cybersecurity and what we may arrange. Certainly, we all know that there are no 100% guarantees, and then I came up with a new team, and initially our dialogue did not proceed with the fact that our system is great. Probably this is not a widespread situation, so it works for a couple of years.
Вообще это очень интересно.
So there have to be 3 envelopes. Okay.
С одной стороны, вот хочется сказать, что, ну да, действительно можно и нужно иметь правильные подходы для того, чтобы
You have to have the right approach in order to talk to the top management to convey the truth. And last year we had the same discussion at the Positive Hack Days, and I liked very much what was said by one of the directors general. He said that if the head of the company is ready to listen to the truth about the business, so he's prepared for the truth in all the directions. But if the head of the company doesn't want to get the truth regarding the cybersecurity, probably he's reluctant to get any truth at all in all other spheres as well. For me, cybersecurity, information security becomes the indicator of the maturity of the organization in general and of top management in particular. This is a litmus test, so to say.
С точки зрения действительно донесения реальности, вот я видел
How we can convey the truth to the top management. I saw such approaches, such maneuvers.
строят инфобез, а их можно взломать.
For instance, some companies have a good information security perimeter, but still they can be hacked, and the criminals have changed, and the tools can change. So 3 years ago you were good,
Вообще, мне кажется, что вот эта вот культура не скрывания
but we see that this culture of not hiding the problem
для сильных людей, условно говоря,
is designed for strong people only.
Рядом руководителей.
When I talk to a number of top managers, my piece of advice is to hire an information security officer with guts, a person who can tell you the truth otherwise.
Не обязательно с яйцами, чтобы он не
it
боялся.
won't be
ему было всё
trouble.
равно. Это еще и должна
Well,
атмосфера
it's not
быть,
that he has to have guts,
да,
but
да,
конечно, да.
a certain atmosphere has to be created in the
То есть
company
страшно не ошибку
to facilitate
совершить,
that.
да, замолчать и допустить ее
It is scary not to make a mistake, but to silence it.
Да, не совсем сейчас политически правильный, но, по-моему, же шаттл.
This is not a politically correct thing, but I think that
Там же история была простая, все знали.
that was the case of a U.S. Atlantis shuttle. There was a problem with the ceiling, and
несколько лет проект просто встал. Вот и все.
well, people thought that probably we will miss that
Боялись сказать.
danger, and they didn't miss. Boris, you have raised a very good question. Don't be afraid to look into the root cause of the problem.
Термин security by design.
Security by design. That's an old term, but who of the top managers is building the business bearing in mind cybersecurity, bearing in mind the potential risks?
Ведь когда мы строим машину, мы думаем про безопасность. А когда мы
When we
строим бизнес,
build
мы
a
думаем про
car, we
функциональную
think about
безопасность.
security and safety, but when we build a business, we think about the cybersecurity? No.
Крупного банка рассказывал такую тему, что у них в банке
One, my friend told me about a bank
нового банковского проекта
which, when initiating another banking project at the very first meeting,
юристов и безопасников.
the security guys and lawyers are not invited because otherwise they would offer a lot of nightmarish scenarios and the project will not take off the ground. And
Мне кажется, еще важно, чтобы вот те
I
самые
think-
безопасники умели вот через security by design не стопорить, собственно, дизайн, да, потому что твой security может сделать так, что вообще ничего не будет работать. Вот
the
что
security
важно.
officers can do it that you will never be able to implement any project. Let us proceed with another block of questions.
Ответственность по
Look,
безопасности внутри
the
организации.
responsibility for security within the
Тут можно
company.
много чего пообсуждать.
We can discuss a lot of things
Вот
there.
ко мне часто приходят люди и говорят, а как
I'm approached every now and then by the people who would say
внутри IT, сбоку от IT, там, я не знаю, над IT, под IT.
Whether-
Да, то есть это вообще прям интересный пласт вопросов, скажем так. Потому что по-честному, вот чем дальше,
put
тем больше
IT
у меня
inside the
ощущение, что на
cybersecurity.
90%
On top of that, I
безопасность
have a
это
feeling that
правильно выстроенная
90%
IT.
security, this
Просто.
is about
То
the
есть не
right
какой-то
IT
отдельный
model.
какой-то блок,
This is
это
not just a standalone
правильно
block,
выстроенные там
but
сеть,
this is the
приложения, работа с данными, но
right way of working with the data. And certainly you can add monitoring, certain rules.
Вот IT, это, наверное, прям, ну вот прям...
But all in all, IT, I think this is the root cause of everything.
А за что вообще отвечает, условно,
The second is what the Director General is responsible for.
Ситуацией, когда руководство бизнеса воспринимает
What situation I run into is that, for instance, the business would perceive that the following way. The security officers
если не защитили,
have
то
to
они
protect us
виноваты.
against. And if they fail to do that, then they are guilty.
Вот эти вот наши проекты по
They are to be blamed for that.
по защите позитива. В какой-то момент мы
When we
пришли к
installed our
руководству,
security features in positive technologies,
коммерческого
we
блока
approached
R&D,
the R&D and commercial team and told them, you are responsible for the security of your block,
И
not
мы проведем вручение через 3 месяца.
information
Если они
security
покажут, что, соответственно, там что-то может
department,
делать,
but
это твоя
you.
ответственность.
And if we do the drills that would identify certain
Они могут тебе помочь.
gaps,
И мы,
you will
там,
be guilty for
позитив,
that.
компания, которая там IT, там,
And we, the
попадает,
positive
мы
technologies,
с таким
the company
сопротивлением,
which is the leader, we face so much
Мы
resistance.
продаем, мы программируем. Там, да.
We were told
Но
we
по
are
факту,
developing
пока это ты не
software, we are
сделаешь, не делаешь
selling,
безопасность. Потому
but
что,
unless
во
you
многом это же
ensure
так
security and
переплетено,
safety at
да,
all the
что это не
levels, you
какая-то
will not
наружная
ensure
вот
the
история,
overall
да.
security.
В этом смысле, вот какие ваши
that
мнения
sense,
по этому поводу? Как
What
правильно
do you
выстроить
think about that? How do we
ответственность внутри
build
организации,
responsibility
чтобы
within the
безопасность
organization the
работала?
right way that security
готов?
works? Who is ready to take it?
Давай, наверное, я начну. Это очень правильный подход, я вот
Let me
считаю,
start with
когда,
that.
за безопасность.
This is a very
в
right
принципе,
approach
люди должны
when
отвечать сами в своих подразделениях.
people have to be
Безусловно,
responsible
там,
for security in their own
любая задача
departments.
любого безопасника — это сделать, чтобы было
Any
безопасно все.
Well, any officer, security officer, wants to guarantee security everywhere. So, and for that, people have to be dismissed, power supply has to be disconnected, and computers have to be shut down. That would be 100% guarantee of security. No one but business realizes the balance between the security and the business operations. There have to be quantitative and qualitative measures of security. You have to avoid leaks. You have to change passwords, and every now and then, these are the consequences. The people have to have security on their minds. You have to train people about that. You have to explain it to them, not the level of the horror stories that tomorrow something wrong would happen, but you have to explain why this is needed.
Страсти рассказывать, вот мы все-таки к предыдущей дискуссии немножко вернулись, да, когда...
And we got back to the previous discussions. When intimidating people, that's good, but as I said, you may shout wolves many times and the wolves would not come, but then they would arrive. And finally, what we're going to do. So, number one, the people have to understand why cybersecurity is about. Secondly, I would disagree that only IT guys have to be responsible for that. No product. There are lots of non-IT things related to cybersecurity, information security, because product by design implies some cyber component which has nothing to do with cyber. This is number two. And the people who are disseminating these products had to ensure security as well. I was the product director, and I understand what it is. And IT guys, they understood that at the level of SLA, providing services, etc. So, but this is not all. This is only part of that. So the main story is about how you use the right words to tell about security to the people who are responsible for product in their departments, for the end product of their department. And let me repeat that once again, intimidating probably is not the right way to go. You have to explain and show why these people need security. Okay, thank you. Let's get back. If you got me that intimidation is the right way to go, no, this is not true. Very often, cybersecurity is perceived as being a boogeyman that scares people. But how are the people that never put themselves in the shoes of the cybersecurity officer look in the eyes of the criminal, and so you give them the vision of the other side. Without IT, certainly, we cannot move forward. IT, this is the layer on top of which we put cybersecurity, information security, and other security types. You have to get one simple thing. I want to openly say thank you to IT departments in my company for seeing the problem and not being afraid of approaching us, saying, guys, look at there, we believe that this is not right, or this is abnormal, because usually IT perceives itself as a tool for business solutions. For instance, can you provide access to internet to some person sitting in a bar on Friday evening in Thailand? Or, for instance, can you facilitate the publication of something that has to be published? They can do that. But we may move them aside and tell them, if you're not thinking about security, then most likely you'll have to change the settings or retune it somehow. People are about psychology, all the people are different. Otherwise, actually, we would run into laziness. The people would say, that they are reluctant to change passwords. They would say, I'm selling products, I'm not about that. And when we do not understand 2 minutes that is required to not change password, is it because of the laziness or what? That's another question. Cybersecurity, and this is what we discussed in Sochi at the strategic session on HR. We came up with a conclusion that information security officer is needed in order to make a conclusion what level of security would allow the business to function properly with the required speed, but at the same time ensure necessary security. Not 100% security when the lights are off. How many organizations do we have in the country? Hundreds of thousands and probably millions of them.
Ответа на этот вопрос нет.
I don't think that our public authorities have the right answers to that.
Мне кажется, что ИБ должно строиться
I think that information security
на вопрос «зачем?».
has to start with the question of why.
Топ-менеджмент понимает,
Then
зачем они тратят деньги.
top management would understand what they are spending their money on, and the cybersecurity officers will understand why they are doing it like that. If the answer is that cybersecurity
Охранять расчетный счет
is designed only to
нашифруют ежеквартально. Ну и
protect the account, then it doesn't make sense. For instance, if we're hacked every now and then, for instance, I may summon 100 accountants and they would restore our reporting system, and that's it.
Ответ на вопрос «зачем?», а вот отвечать на него должны.
My answer to a question is the following. We have to altogether answer the question why we need cybersecurity.
Могут подсказать, каким образом
The ones who may tip us
могут случиться факторы, которые повоздействуют на эту стратегию.
Как вам кажется, вообще вот отношение безопасности топ-менеджмента? У меня прям последний вопрос, и мы будем уже...
I have the last question, and I think that we will call it
За последние годы как-то поменялось отношение топ-менеджмента к безопасности?
Did top management change its attitude towards information security? Because I can remember that about 10 years ago, we'd come to the customers and they would say, hackers, do they exist at all? Are we interesting for them? 5 years ago, many people started saying, okay, we'll be hacked, but what's wrong with that? But in the recent years, I see a lot of changes. What trends do I see there? First of all, really, we have a lot of mature managers in general. They're interested in that topic. And they understand many topics very well. And for instance, I'm head of the plant and I understand the finances, I understand legal issues, etc. But I don't understand anything about the information security business, and I want to understand it because I'm very mature and experienced. The second thing is that cyber wars and image of the company prompts you to understand what is going around you. This is number two. Number three, impact of digitalization.
Как правило, есть чуйка, да, и вот эта чуйка...
The top managers would have their gut feeling. And when digitalization goes on and you don't understand anything about that, then you would be concerned. So my experience is like that.
Меняется ли отношение руководства к инфобезу за последние там несколько лет?
And did the attitude of the
Давайте я начну. На самом деле,
top management to information security change?
когда-то мечтали о том, что можно говорить теперь
Well,
про инфобез. Сейчас это случилось.
several years ago, we were dreaming of being able to talk directly about information security to top management. This happened.
Хороший, наверное, момент. Мы находимся.
That's a very good thing in a sense that I think we are on the brink of
Они себе еще не ответили. То есть
not answering the question why we need that. So the top management is...
Вот, наверное, такое состояние сейчас.
They have not answered the question why they need cybersecurity, but they are already interested in that. The state has done a lot over the last couple of years to put that question on the agenda, at least.
До конца года мы ждем, и министр Максут Игоревич подтвердил, что будет пакет утвержден по определению объектов.
And we were told that
Потому что сейчас многие же
certain industrial principles are going to be adopted.
уклоняются, да, не категорируются, а тут, поэтому вопрос повестки будет более
I think
акцентирован.
that
отвечать на него
this
придется.
question would be more pronounced on the agenda, and you'll have to answer that question. Okay, using hard methods.
Там по роду деятельность давно связана с медиа, и поэтому там первые вопросы
I
по
have to
кибербезу у
deal
меня возникали еще в далеком
with the
2008
cyber issues,
году, когда мы вдруг там, поставив какую-то
beginning from 2008,
хранение контента, вдруг нашли
when
там,
content
китайцев,
storage
которые
system was
зачем-то
installed, and all of a sudden we found some Chinese companies that were
спортивных соревнований. Ну, просто вот
uploading
нашли, пошли,
gigabytes
начали качать.
of
Это
some events
диапазон был от удивления, а зачем это им надо,
downloading.
до
And
задумывания, типа, а вот что с этим
we were
делать?
surprised why
Поэтому
these
в моей
Chinese guys
жизни
are doing that.
кибербез, он
And
стоит, хорошо,
then we
давно
thought,
и
why
всё
they are
остальное.
doing that?
Другое дело, что
What
за
for?
последние годы кибербез пришел
Over
в
the
те
last several
области,
years,
которые раньше об этом вообще не
cybersecurity
задумывались.
came to the
Ну,
areas
например,
where
спорт.
it was not very
Никто
frequent.
никогда в
For
жизни
instance,
о кибербезе
sports.
в спорте не задумывался. Теперь
No
у
one
нас
ever
платформы,
thought about
которые мы создали для
cybersecurity in
своих,
sports,
для
and
игр
now the
будущего,
platform
когда
that we have
там
erected
принимало
for
чудовищное там количество
future
данных, там
games,
порядка
and that
1
had
гигабайта
to
данных за вот мероприятие, которое
digest
прошло
about 1
в
petabyte
Казани,
of data
там этот вопрос,
in
он просто
Kazan.
первый.
That question
И
is number one,
проходить мимо него нельзя, и теперь
and you
это уже
cannot
навсегда
overlook
с нами.
it.
Это к вопросу о
And
lessons
this will
learned, да?
stay with us
Теперь
for
уже
us. This is
навсегда
back
к
to
нами. С нами, и более
lessons
того,
learned.
об этом понимают те люди, которые никогда в жизни
And
об этом
moreover, the people
не
who
задумывались.
never
Вот,
thought about
смотрите,
that
нас
now
вот,
realize it.
безголовые
Look at
спортсмены,
us.
а мы тоже начинаем думать про
Спасибо,
кибербез.
да.
We are athletes,
Время
and we are
заканчивается.
thinking about cyber
Да.
security. So, and please be brief, because we run out of time. The most scary thing that may happen now is that many top managers get tired of cybersecurity, information security. So people are used to many things, even negative ones. And now I see that many people say, oh, how many times you have to tell me about cybersecurity? And this is true not only for big organizations, but even for people I'm talking to. People are used to being hacked, and they do not attach great importance to the possibility of being hacked. That's scary. Thank you. Thank you. We promised to try to come up with 3-4 statements, things that top management has to understand about cybersecurity. Aydar, I know your statements,
Мне кажется, что Айдар начал с очень правильной
but I think
темы.
that Aydar started with a very right topic.
Вот я тут
Thing
прям
number
солидарен
one,
с Айдаром.
and I associate myself with Aydar, is to understand
Денег стоит
how much money
реализовать недопустимые для меня события, причащие недопустимый мне ущерб.
it would cost to arrange an intolerable event for me. So either I know that figure or I do not know that figure. If I do not know that figure, then probably it would sound strange. Second thing that I liked very much, this is regarding what Roman was speaking about, that people are afraid of notifying top management about the problems. And if I don't know about the current problems regarding cybersecurity, then probably I'm not informed about that by my subordinates. There are such problems there for sure, because it cannot be otherwise.
Знаете, какой у меня был опыт? У меня был опыт, что...
I had another experience. I had an experience that the people were attacked, the hacker is already inside,
Вашу информацию, логи, будем заниматься...
and
Но у нас все ушли.
I said, let us actually deal with the logs, etc. And I was told, but it is Friday evening and all the people has gone. Let's speak about that on Monday. So the cybersecurity has to work 24/7. Your IT doesn't have to work 24/7, but security may work like that.
Всех обнимаем. Спасибо за внимание.
So embrace you and thank you for your attention. We're done. Thank you.